Okay, so we're gonna start. Hope this goes well. So if not, please, people, be patient. So hello, everyone. I just want to welcome to this remote lecture that we're gonna have. We hope that you are in a good health, in a good company with your family, still health, still safe and everything. So this is the first talk that in our spring quarter, in our spring lecture quarter. It's going to be a series of the visual arts. It's going to be on the visual arts departments at the UCSD. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous with this. So, so this is our first talk, okay? So I just want to thank to the visual arts department for keeping the energy of going ahead with these talks, even if it's remotely, but I think it's a good way to share ideas and work, right? Thanks to Paolo Zuniga and Lucas Coffin for put this setup on the live stream through YouTube. Also thanks to Bailey Davenport for schedule this series of talks for our spring quarter. Thanks to Amy Adler, to the chair of the Department of the Visual Arts. And a little bit, I want to read a little bit the short bio of Brett Schultz, which is our guest for this lecture. Brett William Schultz, born in Chicago in 1978, is a co-founder of Create and creative director of material art in Mexico City. His previous project includes BWSMX, an office of collaborative activities in contemporary art. Ruberta, a shared exhibition space in Los Angeles, and Yautepec Gallery. He co-directed from 2008 to 2017. This in Mexico City. He received his BA in International Relations from the University of Southern California and his master's degree from the Interactive Telecommunications Program at New York University Tisch School of the Arts. So also he has organized over 70 exhibitions and 7 editions of Material Art Fair. His projects have appeared across a wide variety of international publications, including the New York Times, El País, the Financial Times, the Paris Review, Artforum, Frieze, Art Review, ArtNews, ArtNet, the art newspaper, Art+Auction, and this is in France, L'Office, right? And Flash Art, among others. So he lives right now in Mexico City. He's in Mexico City right now. But one of the things that I would like to add about Brett, it's a personal comment, you know. Brett is a former member of this music project, Soledad, which
not former. Still. We're just on hiatus. Not former, still.
Well, still former, like, no, okay. So yeah, it's a member. So, but it's it's on a standby right now, right? So I hope that this ends soon. So it's a collaboration with Esteban Aldrete, another artist from Mexico City. So if you want, and Brett is a guitar player. So if you want to hear something about this project, just let me know, shoot me an email, and definitely I will share something. It's not a former, I'm sorry. It's still, they're still playing, so it's on a standby. So Brett, thank you for being here. Welcome to this remote lecture, and hope you have everything like comfortable and see what happened. And we are glad to having you here.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Memo. And thanks to the UCSD Visual Arts Department for inviting me. Yeah, it's my first remote lecture, so you know, fingers crossed. But yeah, you know, this is a nice opportunity to think about something that's not coronavirus. So I hope you all can appreciate it on that level as well. So I'm going to talk about my principal project, which is Material Art Fair in Mexico City. But I think kind of in talking about this, it's important to kind of start at the very beginning, kind of the prequel, I guess. But anyways, let's go ahead. So I'm aware that it's cliche to begin with a quote, but I do think that this one kind of sets the right mood. I happened upon it not too long ago in a book called A New Program for Graphic Design, which was written by an old professor of mine, David Reinford. And so Georgi Kepes was one of these kind of tireless, multidisciplinary creative types, who's probably best known for having founded the Center for Advanced Visual Studies at MIT. And I think he captures a sentiment here that has kind of resonance for anyone who's kind of identified a problem, however minor or major, and tried to solve it. And I like that the emphasis is kind of on the act of trying. I think that lends a nobility to failure. And again, part two of the kind of like established beliefs here is this, which so when our graphic designer Carla Valdivia proposed the identity for our fourth edition in 2017, she introduced inalienable right to art. And I don't know what that means, but it kind of sounds important. And then on the other hand, freedom to art could be read as this kind of like revolutionary demand to liberate art from an unnamed and uncool oppressor. So, I think when these meanings collide in this kind of confused but righteous coexistence, art becomes a universal imperative. And that's the universe that I want to live in. So going back in time, we can kind of start at the start. So, material was this really complicated solution to a simple problem, basically, which is that an art gallery is a super tough business. And Yautepec was this non-commercial project space that was established in Mexico City in 2008. I had moved from New York to Mexico City with my then girlfriend, Daniela Obahara. And an artist friend of ours, Tatiana Musi, had access to this empty house in the Condesa neighborhood where we were also living. And it was casual. I mean, we just thought it would be fun to start organizing exhibitions there for some of our artist friends. So Yautepec began in that moment in time. And so, Daniela and I were young and ambitious, and the project evolved quickly. And we were pretty convinced that there was a need for a commercial gallery in Mexico City with an international program dedicated to emerging artists. So Yautepec kind of then became a commercial gallery, or whatever we understood that to mean at the time. We found a cheap storefront space in the San Rafael neighborhood, and we started to represent a few artists. And the artists that we worked with, had no existing market, so it was an uphill battle, obviously. And we both continued to work daily, where else we could find. And since we had no experience running a commercial gallery and really no idea we were doing, we were watching other Mexico City galleries pretty closely, like Proyectos Monclova, Gaga, Labor, Curimansuto, to see what they were doing. And we noticed that they were all doing art fairs. So, I think when we were kind of like starting this thing, we had maybe just assumed that collectors would show up at the gallery and fall in love with, you know, our winning personalities, our scrappy project, our can-do attitude, and all of our promising young artists. You know, and then of course they would start buying work from us on a regular basis, you know, because that's how this supposedly works. But no, you know, it doesn't actually work like that. So you know, we decided that actually, you know, a commercial gallery, a lot of fairs. You know, we were naive and didn't really have much criteria in terms of which fairs to do, but we were learning as we went along. And you know, in general, I would say that participating in fairs had given us more visibility, both locally and internationally. We had some exciting press, met some interesting curators, made some, but we still weren't finding outside. It might have looked like Yautepec was kind of on the up and up because we were doing a lot of fairs, but the reality was that we were broke and struggling, and you know, art fairs are really, really expensive and really, really risky. So we weren't ready to throw in the towel yet, but we did need to change strategies. And yeah, so it was 2013, and we made the difficult decision to not participate in Mexico City's Zonamaco fair that year, which would have been our 4th appearance at the fair. But yeah, we didn't have the money to do it, so yeah, so the big problem for us was that if we weren't going to be at Zonamaco, then we ran the risk of becoming totally invisible during Mexico City's Art Week. And we wondered if there was a way to still connect with the local and international curators and collectors without being at Mako. So yeah, we started to brainstorm. And yeah, you know, it was the early 2010s, and so pop-ups were everywhere. There were like pop-up shops, pop-up restaurants, pop-up galleries, pop-up fashion shows, pop-up whatever. And it was definitely in the air. And so you know, we decided to kind of go that route. We found a house that we could rent out for a temporary exhibition. It was right in the heart of Mexico City's Roma neighborhood, close to the galleries and the restaurants that would be on most Art Week agendas. And you know, it then occurred to us that what would actually make this kind of whole pop-up thing much more interesting and exciting would be to include other galleries. You know, and that had the added benefit that we could share costs between all of us. We managed to convince some really great young galleries to join us in this project. So we had Proyectos Ultravioleta from Guatemala, Diablo Rosso from Panama, La Central from Bogota, and Sultana from Paris. And the costs were really reasonable for everyone involved, and the format actually did feel fresh. It was nice. And between all the collaborating galleries, we basically co-curated a week-long salon-style exhibition featuring our respective artists. We did an opening party, cocktails, lunches, kind of all sorts of stuff to bring people in and see the show, which was called Raw Material. So it was, you know, it was modest, but it had the right kind of communal spirit, you know, young galleries doing their thing. And yeah, so we were happy with the results. Here's some photos. But yeah, lots of collectors came through and they loved it and helped us to spread the word. You know, especially kind of Mexican institutional curators who had never before stepped foot in our gallery, they came to this. And you know, we all made sales and new contacts. And on top of that, we just kind of really had a nice fun time working together. Yeah, then, I think Daniela and I felt like we were on to something. We had always participated in Zona Mako because we felt like we had to, but we also never felt like we had such a proper place there. It was this kind of massive event, and by the time anyone arrived to the new proposals section, where we always were, they were already kind of in like zombie mode, autopilot. So at Raw Material, we felt like we were kind of finally in the right context. We were there with our peers whom we liked and respected. The art was great. It was like an environment that was comfortable and inviting, and yeah, it was fun. So, I don't recall the specific moment in which Daniela and I then decided to start Material, the fair, but the seed was there. Like, let's make a fair for galleries like ours. So yeah, then pass into the next phase, which is this, where we started to outline exactly what would need to be done. The name came pretty easily, just as an extension of the project Raw Material. We found a venue with a great location in the center of the city. We hired a design studio. Approached dozens and dozens of galleries to invite them to participate. I think the operating logic was that if we wrote to just about all of them, at least a few would say yes. But we did have, some criteria at that point. And it was an interesting moment too in the Mexico City scene, because all of these artist run and curator run project spaces were sprouting up all of a sudden, like Preteen Gallery, Bikini Wax, Lulu, Lodos, No Space. And there were also others like Perla Oaxaca in Oaxaca City, and Otras Obras in Tijuana. And we identified with those projects because that was pretty much how Yautepec had started. And we felt like it was important to highlight, the exciting stuff that they were doing by including them in Material. So we, at that point, partnered up with Isa Castilla, who was a recent graduate of the Sotheby's Institute of Art, to direct the fair's, VIP program, because of course we needed that. And we also partnered with the director of a marketing agency to help us finance, produce, and promote the event. So yeah, kind of everything seemed cool. It was like scary but cool, and but it did seem like we had this thing more or less under control. Yeah, so at that point, Yautepec's participation in art fairs had taken on this kind of different flavor or dimension, because we were still there to make sales and contacts as a gallery, but we were also there to like study how they do things, and and to convince their exhibitors to do our fair too. And I think there are two fairs in particular that really shape Material at that moment. One is Artorama in Marseille, and the other is Nada in Miami Beach. And so Artorama takes place in Marseille at the end of the European vacation season. And Marseille is close to the French Riviera, so it makes for this kind of interesting last stop for vacationing collectors who are mostly French and Belgian. It's a small fair, has less than 20 galleries. And the most exciting aspect to me was that we, the gallerists, were included in the entire VIP program. And the fair's opening hours were super limited, so we spent most of our time just socializing with the collectors. And I loved that it felt like we were on this kind of vacation together. And I really don't, I haven't experienced another fair quite like that. Everything, really fun parties, and yeah, so we were always thinking about that fair. We knew we wanted to make just kind of a different kind of art fair in Mexico City, in that particular context. And so those two fairs were really kind of useful points of references for us. And yeah, so, so it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, talking ourselves into this process of talking ourselves into kind of being able to do this thing. It's like, okay, we can do it. Like, we've been to a lot of fairs, we talked to the directors, we can do this, they can do this, so can we. So yeah, so Nada took place 2 months before the debut edition of material. And our lineup for the first edition was like, it was looking pretty good, but we still had a few more spaces to fill. So, we went to work. One of us was working Yautepec stand. Everything. And then with Michael and Michael of Clifton Benevento, which is no longer exists, but it was a really great gallery from New York, which had already agreed to come down for our first edition. They worked with the artist Martin Soto Clement, so they thought it would be like an interesting opportunity to do a solo presentation for him there. And so yeah, one of the Michaels said, it's like, we're so excited to come to Mexico City. And like right then my phone buzzes, and it was a message from our partner, the agency director, who just straight up said, like, I'm backing out. So yeah, so my stomach dropped and I showed the phone to Daniela, and for the remainder of our elevator ride up, we were like trying to muster whatever enthusiasm we could for Clifton Benevento's sake, because like this is probably, yeah, one of the more recognized galleries in our lineup. And so yeah, the doors opened at our floor, we step out and like boom, panic attacks, screaming fits. Like we were super screwed, because we basically scaled before. And so yeah, so we got back to Mexico City and we had this puzzle with like a lot of missing pieces. And so I imagined my life and reputation in ruins, and thought like, I'm just gonna move to the desert and start a career in heavy drinking, and but yeah, I don't know, it turned out that like that kind of adversity was a super good motivator. I mean, we had time to fix things, and yeah, so we just started kind of like making phone calls left and right, looking for all the people that could get us just to the finish line, and Daniela and I are both pretty stubborn people, and we felt like a lot of people were betting against us at that point, and like we could not fail. So yeah, so I don't know. I mean, those 2 months were crazy, and I think like the constant panic gave me of like stress-induced amnesia, because I don't remember that much of it, but like I know that we got there eventually, and on time. So yeah, so kind of, and everything about that first edition was like painfully stressful. There were so many things, like even the relief of like having kind of gotten to the run answered, on we're super call the production people to go and check out the booth lighting, because they were like finally installing it. But yeah, they, so the lights were installed, and we kind of made like, we made a choice not to go with the typical spots that you see at art fairs. We decided like, no, okay, we want our stands to kind of look like like most of our galleries spaces do, you know, and so we went with, at that point it was like more of a fluorescent tube, like a T8, but anyways, yeah, so, you know, get there, but the walls were like raw, they hadn't been finished, painted, nothing. And like, so, you know, kind of like seeing the fair in this kind of like cold light, you know, with unfinished walls, like it looked so bad, like so bad, you know, like bad enough that I was like, I think we need to cancel this, like just put ourselves out of our misery at this point. But yeah, you know, that was a mistake that I will not make again. But yeah, you know, like things didn't turn into Firefest, so it was all right. And yeah, we made a fair, and it worked. It was like, it looked professional. The exhibitors had a great time. There were plenty of sales, interesting talks, fun parties. I felt like, you know, we'd given this kind of new platform to everything that was actually exciting to us in Mexico City's contemporary art scene at that moment. So yeah, so kind of like for the previous several months, it had been, you know, basically impossible for me to think past the last day of the fair. You know, and then once we got there, I think the weight of reality, you know, kind of came crashing down, not only on me, but on all of us. And, you know, it's like, we've got a fair now and we have to go through this hell again and again and again. And the postpartum, I mean, for lack of a better term, it was like the postpartum depression, you know, was like, it was real. And you know, but like once a couple of weeks had passed and we could actually kind of like talk about it again, then we were like, you know, like talking with the people that had been there, and, you know, are like, actually it was pretty amazing, it was cool. And, you know, and it's not to say that like making material would get any easier or less stressful, you know, a little bit, but we knew that we had this kind of amazing project now that meant something to us, and also to plenty of other people. And so that's kind of when things started to get like really exciting. And yeah, so you know, kind of take you through the various editions that we've held. So I don't think that the people at the Hilton where we did the first edition really liked us or the event, because when we quoted our second edition with them, they like literally tripled the costs. So yeah, so we had to look for another venue, and we decided on the Auditorio Blackberry in the Condesa neighborhood, which was still really central. And it's like the venue's was an old movie theater that had been recently remodeled and was mostly used for concerts. It had this like contemporary concrete look that seemed like it could work out all right. But it was actually like a challenge to fit the fair there. Because we didn't want to have less exhibitors than the previous edition, but that led us to make some regrettable choices in terms of the distribution. You know, we had like some in a weird space upstairs and others on this. But I think we also got a bit cocky, because we were like, it was like this classic kind of sophomore slump situation, where I think we assumed that because our first edition had gotten a lot of hype and that like now all these galleries wanted to come, that also like the collectors would come running. You know, and it was like something that I think with our experience with Yautepec that we should have known better. But yeah, so, you know, some of the galleries that had brought works at higher price points just couldn't make it work. And so, you know, like, although I think the fair looked like a big step up from the previous edition, you know, it felt kind of like really, really slow. But yeah, like there were some highlights, and it was that edition was our first collaboration with the New York bar and curatorial project Beverly's. And yeah, they had taken over this kind of funny space but beneath the stage. That was kind of like probably the best thing about that edition. It was like yeah, just really nice kind of performance space where the mezcal was free flowing, and yeah, it felt good. That was kind of my escape from from the stress of the rest. So with volume 3, it was like about a month after our 2015 fair that I was at this party, and I had or I don't know, interaction with William Gonzalez, who's one of the architects from this Mexico City-based studio called Art+, which is Apropiación del Espacio, appropriation of space. Really know each other. We'd seen each other, we didn't know each other, and he actually hadn't been to material. But over the course of that night, he convinced me that we were doing absolutely everything wrong. And I was like, can you do a better job? Can you do a better job? And he was like, yeah, I can. So we started working together. And we also began working at that point with the graphic designer Carla Valdivia, who I had mentioned earlier, to help us recraft the identity for the fair, since we felt like our previous identity never really kind of like fit the vibe right. And yeah, I mean, she's now like one of our most important creative collaborators. So happy we made that move. And yeah, so we had already kind of like started planning the fair at the Tlatelolco Cultural Center, which was like formerly the offices for the Secretary for Foreign Relations.
I don't know if you can hear me, Brett. So I think we have the technical difficulties. So let's see if Brett, I'm sure this coming back. So let's see, guys. Just wait. You know, this is the way that okay, he's back. I believe so. Yes. So it would. What's up, Brett? Can you hear me? So I can show you my dog for now. It's Arnold. He went out again. So what's up, guys? I don't know what to say. What I can show you. Let's see. That's weird, but let's see. Let's give it a couple minutes so we can see if it. Well, he's now back. So please, guys, be patient because this kind of stuff is going to happen often, I'm assuming. So we need to see the best way and adapt ourselves a little bit. So let's see. Okay. Hey, Brett, do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. We just lost you a little bit.
Okay.
So,
all right. So let's get back into this, I guess. Yeah. So I don't know if you lost me with the third edition, but that was, yeah, my first edition at Expo Reforma. And yeah, just kind of a crazy town kind of.
Yes, that's fine.
For max. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so number 4 was at Expo Reforma again, but yeah, so this time we took over 2 floors in order to do like a really different layout. So the idea was basically on each floor, the galleries were all situated around a central patio. And that created this kind of like easy, very intelligible circulation around the fair, but also made it feel kind of like, yeah, somehow democratic. Like nobody had a better spot than anyone else. And, you know, we still didn't really have aisles, which is kind of like still meeting with our previous objective. And yeah, you know, the lot of ways, the former director of the gallery labor, as part of our co-production team, and she's become, you know, now like a super integral part of the fair, and it was a huge success, and it brought a really interesting kind of new angle to the fair for of everyone that was there. And so, you know, it was nice. It seemed at that point that like material was kind of gaining some momentum. We even had some, you know, kind of like minor celebrity sightings. You know, Hans-Ulrich Obrist came around with Bettina Korik, and Kim Gordon was there. You know, you know,
Okay. That's part of the thing. No problem. Yeah, it's part of the thing. So, yeah, we can continue if you like. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I'm here.
So I'm gonna share the screen again.
Yes.
All right. So, so the guy that had run the event production for us for the previous edition had just started working at this place called the Fronton Mexico, and he invited me over for scouting. It was like, you gotta see this place. So the Fronton is a highlight arena with an adjacent casino, and it had been abandoned for like 25 years because of a labor dispute. Not even abandoned, just closed. And they, you know, finally resolved the dispute and sunk a ton of money into this like massive remodeling project. And the results were really incredible. We knew, you know, seeing that place, that we had to do material there. Plus it was also just like a couple blocks away from the previous venue, so that was another plus. But the only problem was that it didn't have the surface area, you know, to be able to accommodate the number of galleries that we wanted to include. And, you know, we're trying all these different solutions with the architects until we found an answer, which was like, let's just build up. And so yeah, so we decided to build a building within the building, which like sounds crazy, and it was, but it was spectacular. And you know, like the fair with that edition, like finally felt serious. Like it looked beyond professional. We had an excellent gallery lineup. The second lineup for Immaterial was also really stellar, with like works by Maria Asabi and Martin Spangberg. We also brought in the Mexico City-based designer Fabian Capello to furnish the bought like yeah, just seats that he'd found on the street. And yeah, so, you know, kind of that edition just felt like kind of like a new beginning for the fair in a lot of respects. And yeah, so, you know, because we were so happy with that edition, we decided to sign a 3-year contract with the Fronton. And you know, decided that we were going to kind of continue to develop the possibilities of like this multi-level structure there, evolving it with each edition according to the needs of that.
Believe happen again, or we lost? Yes. So again, guys, lost. Let's wait if he come back. So this is my dog again. But like I told you, guys, it's Arnold. It's always look into the window. Okay, it's back. So let's continue, man. I'm just supporting.
Thank you. Yeah, good thing.
Okay, man.
Got that. So yeah, so you know, this past edition, like just 2 months ago, really. We had one, like for me, it echoed a bit like the third edition, which was like the super crazy one. Because we gave a really central role to the public program with this last one. Like we literally put most all of the public program in the center of the fair, as you can see in the photo. You know, and that included a series of talks organized as part of reading material, you know, another ambitious performance program for MIM material with Adriana Lara, Kristan Salou, Manuel Pelmush, Nikima Yagurayev. And we also debuted this like new series, new performance series called Listening Material, which was like focused on sound-based performance. And yeah, it was a lot. Like I think, you know, kind of for everyone, especially the exhibitors, you know, and so yeah, you know, we again learned a lot, and you know, like but I'm still kind of convinced that like, you know, trying is the most important part. You know, we get one shot at this a year, and there's a lot of room to make mistakes, obviously, but like I am a fan of failure. I think it's like a great teacher, and you know, I still love to learn. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Brett.
Of course.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. That was a great.
It's probably on my end. Our internet has been slow since everyone's been working from home. But,
I mean, international connections are hard. So I think maybe we should start the Q&A now. I'm just waiting for the YouTube feed to catch up with us. I guess I have a question. As an artist, what do you think the best way, just because I know this is something a lot of the grad students are wondering, obviously we're in grad school, what do you think the best way is to sort of identify like a good gallery? And do you think that artists should try independently to go to fairs or just stick with the gallery?
Answer I guess the first part of the question. You know, I think it has a lot to do with kind of where your own interests as an artist lie. You know, it's like, and you know, so you know, I feel like artists will naturally gravitate towards certain. The practice, right? Because you know, it's, I think like what you want is a gallery that does have kind of a clear vision, and you know, like and there's a lot of galleries out there, and a lot of artists, obviously, and only so many collectors. So yeah, so it's like, I mean, in a certain way, like fairs can be kind of like a useful filter, or like okay, like certain fairs kind of yeah, like select kind of a certain profile of gallery, and you can kind of like get a sense of like kind of the level of general level of quality amongst those galleries. And so you kind of know also that when they introduce a new gallery that you haven't heard of, that it's kind of has good intentions, at least, that they're trying to do something interesting. So yeah, so it's it's just kind of about doing your research, kind of understanding the playing field out there, and yeah, and just kind of like following in the footsteps of the artists that you respect and admire, and then now I've forgotten the second part of the question, I think.
It was, you pretty much answered it. It was just
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Should you try to go to a fair?
Oh, as an individual artist.
Individual.
There are some, I think, it's become kind of like a popular model here in Mexico recently. There's, I mean, Salon Acme has been around for 1 year more than Material, actually. And then there's another fair in the city of Monterrey called Fama. Started another one called Fine here. And it's like, and I think that those fairs, serve a really useful purpose as well, because they're it takes time to develop a relationship with a gallery, like and it's not kind of the economic environment now where galleries can just kind of take risks on whomever. They kind of need to see that like the artist is working hard on their own, to kind of get themselves out there and kind of continue growing. So in that sense, I think like the artists still need commercial opportunities. They still need to kind of like have the hope of being able to kind of like eke out some sort of existence from their work, and so yeah, so in that sense, like I'm totally in favor of kind of like that format of art fair, but yeah, the model that we've chosen to work upon is kind of more of the traditional one, where like we're working and how
So we lost him again, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, we lost him again.
Yes. I think that he will.
He'll come back.
Yeah. So that's part of the deal that we need to deal all the time now with this platform. Always come as.
There he is. I'll take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Bailey. I'm a second year grad student, and I'm the coordinator for the grad lecture series, so I'll be moderating the Q&A. Brett's back.
I think I'm back.
Thanks so much for that great answer. We have some questions from our viewers. Maria would like to know, How do you feel about material being as big as it is now, almost taking the place of Mako in Mexico City art fair scene? Has it lost its independent vibe?
Well, one, I don't think that we're taking Mako's um, participated.
Again,
Again.
I think it's too much people around this time. So everybody's looking at Netflix, probably using the internet.
Yeah.
So let's see. How do you feel now, Bailey, with this first? Oh, he's coming back.
He's back.
You're back, man.
All right. So what was interesting with this last year, this year, this past edition, was that there were galleries that appeared in both fairs, but and we're talking about like a blue chip galleries that, but the interesting thing I think in that sense is that they kind of understood how materials platform is distinct from Mako's, so they took a very different approach to their stands, which they wouldn't do in Zona Mako, because they are different fairs, and it's important for us that Zona Mako continue, that it remain kind of strong and international, and just as it's important that that the entire city kind of activated, that the entire city's kind of contemporary art scene activates at that moment, because that's the week that we have on the calendar, there's art fair, there's a lot of art fairs, and to build up and yeah, yeah, I do still feel like I mean, it's still there. It's alive and well, and especially in kind of like our project section. We are providing important platform, I think, for the newest spaces, especially Mexican ones, to kind of sustain their programs, and kind of like find collectors that want to support what they do, and curators as well. So yeah, I think yeah, that more or less answers the question.
Thanks. Another question from our YouTube viewers. Ruben asks, considering the scaling down of the market and the economy with the current crisis and what seemed to be an endless growth of the fairs, what do you think will be and what should be their future?
Time of like a pretty brutal correction. There are too many fairs, and I think like it's kind of incumbent upon all of us as organizers of fairs to kind of prove our worth, to the galleries that, you know, support us, that kind of that make our existence possible. You know, so it's, yeah, it, you know, kind of, I mean, I think in these times, you know, which is what they are. Because otherwise it won't come back. It's easy as that.
Great, thank you. Between the technical difficulties, I might have that be our last question, unless Guillermo has anything he wants to ask.
No, I think a pretty good answer. Some of the things that I was thinking about. So I don't know if you have another question or something, not something to add. Guess I don't have anything.
Awesome, thank you so much. We might conclude it there.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
So, Brett, thank you very much for your patience and your time to be in our first experiment through this lecture internet thing, and being patient to share your. Also, thank you for sharing your stuff. And let's keep in touch and see if we can see this lecture in the future in a personal, you know.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do this again in person.
Yeah. So that that will be great. Thank you so much. I don't know. Thank you to everybody who's involved and the people who were stick to this first lecture. You know?
Yeah. Thank you for coming. Thank you to our audience. Thanks. Round of applause.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.